And what is going on, full-time family and fellow fight fans? It is time to talk about some upcoming fights and some current events going down in the world of MMA. So with that being said, we're going to get straight into it because I got to be to work really soon. So that's why this video is also not live, because I don't have time to set up the whole live stream before work. So I'm going to record it, put it up, boom, I'm out your hair. So let's talk about some of these stuff going down in the world of MMA. I recently saw Tony Ferguson called out Conor McGregor on Twitter, and Conor McGregor responded. If you haven't seen it, this is what Tony Ferguson had to say, of course, while he was celebrating his weekly Tiramisu Tuesday, which I actually think is genius. I mean, at first it was kind of like, okay, like, it's over. But then the dedication and the persistent, like the fact that he's kept up with it, I think he's damn near branded Tuesday. You know, they got Throwback Thursday. It's Tiramisu Tuesday. I legitimately look forward to Tony Ferguson's Twitter post on Tuesdays now. No, but seriously, this is what he had to say on Twitter. He said, "No Sauce McNuggets. The notorious MMA, just a replica of his former self he used to be. I got a solid right hand to test that chin of his. How sweet it is. Tiramisu Tuesday." Well, Conor McGregor took note of Tony Ferguson's tweet, and he responded with a tweet of his own. He said, "If we have the ability to go back, Tony, then we have the ability to go forward again. I wish you well, and I'm praying for you as a fellow colleague. Respect to my paradigm familia. Yours sincerely, Burger King." Pretty funny. He calls himself the Burger King, kind of owning the McNuggets and all the Burger King talk. But with that being said, one thing I did find interesting here is Conor said Tony Ferguson's name, I think, for the second time I've ever, that I can recall. For a while, it was a while there, Conor McGregor didn't even really acknowledge Tony Ferguson. But honestly, at this point in Conor's career, that's one of the available fights for him. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to get an immediate rematch. It could happen, but I just don't think it's the right time until he gets another win. And right now, we're hearing about Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone. You know what another fucking great fight would be? Conor McGregor versus Tony Ferguson. So I think with Dustin Poirier booked to fight Max Holloway, I really think that this is a fight that, if it's not Cowboy versus McGregor, this is the other option for McGregor. And so I do like this fight a lot if it were to happen. And so Conor McGregor acknowledging Tony Ferguson, and he's responding to the call out. You can go check Tony Ferguson's Twitter, because I think he responded again. Let's see what he had. But honestly, man, it's hard to decode this shit. Like, it ain't like, oh, he just burned him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just a replica of his former self he used to be. I hear that. That's kind of deep. You know, Conor McGregor came up one of the best fighters, was starting to be considered one of the best fighters of all time because of his success in multiple divisions. But now he's been on this losing streak, and people are starting to say, oh, has he been overrated? Is Conor McGregor, himself, or not overrated? Not has he been overrated, I'll say, because he's made a lot of money since then. So more like Tony Ferguson saying, a shell or a replica of the former self he used to be. Conor McGregor made a lot of money, and maybe he's not as dedicated. He's not grinding as hard, training as long, whatever. And so maybe that's why he's a replica of his former self. And so whatever your opinions are on that, it's still, when you're going through Tony Ferguson's, and even Conor McGregor's response to Tony Ferguson, it's like, I don't really know exactly what the fuck Conor's saying in the beginning. If we have the ability to go back, Tony, then we have the ability to go forward again. Someone let me know in the comments what the fuck he means with that. Like some inside fucking diss. Like, I don't know what he's saying there, but he's wishing well and praying for him as a fellow colleague. So, yeah, Conor McGregor with like some cryptic ass, yours sincerely, Burger King response. So yeah, man. But we got a lot more to talk about. One thing I really wanted to talk about here, man. Tyron, I was going to start the show off with this, but I mean, I changed my mind. Tyron Woodley says he lost $10,000 due to a poorly timed USADA visit. This is #1 bullshit. I've said USADA's got to go in the past, honestly. It is what it is. If they're there, they're there. I mean, they're cleaning up the sport. And if they're not, unless you got pulsing picos. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's still cleaner than it would be if USADA wasn't around, right? So, with that being said, one thing they are is invasive, and that's why they have had a lot of credibility, great credibility, very, reputable, a great reputation up until this John Jones situation. Some people are kind of like, huh? What the fuck? But until that, either way, USADA does their job well. And one thing they do is they will show up any time of night, any day, to test your ass for some fucking steroids. And if you're not there when they show up, when they say they're going to be there, then you will get a whereabouts failure. And a whereabouts failure doesn't get you suspended until you have like 3 of them. Once you have 3 of them, then you can get suspended. It's kind of like you failed a USADA test. But still, if that's still bad on your reputation. If you're fucking Tyron Woodley, or if you're some other champ, George St. Pierre, or anybody, or fucking, if you're anybody, and a headline comes out, Tyron Woodley or GSP, USADA whereabouts failure. He wasn't where he was supposed to be when USADA was trying to find him. That's going to look all kind of fucked up. Tarnish your reputation and your brand. So you got to sit there and you got to take that test. So what happens when you're Tyron Woodley, who's now has an aspiring career outside of the octagon, which is a fucking... Tyron Woodley is a fucking genius, dog. Especially, like, the more that I think about it, this dude is on the money. You laugh about his rap career and the TMZ gig and all that acting shit. This dude is brilliant for that. You know why? Because he's not going to be fighting much longer. And so when you see shit like this, you better be glad you got something outside of fighting, because this is bullshit. Listen to this. Tyron Woodley said, they tested me Super Bowl weekend. The lady came to see me, bless her soul, because I said a few unchoice words to her. But with respect, she came to test me at 12 a.m. on Super Bowl weekend. Knowing the reason I was in Atlanta was probably for Super Bowl. I had some appearances that I was supposed to be at. I had an event with NFL player Devontae Freeman and Meek Mill I was supposed to be at, an event with Ludacris, and an event with Snoop Dogg. This pisses me the fuck off, you guys. You gonna tell me they didn't know he was fucking in Atlanta and the Super Bowl's in Atlanta and Tyron Woodley's probably celebrating? You think he went to fucking Atlanta on Super Bowl weekend to take fucking steroids? This man is an aspiring fucking entertainer. All the entertainers are at Super Bowl weekend and you go do this shit? He got shit scheduled? If he was Nick Diaz, he would have just said, fuck y'all, I'm going to get my 10K. But he gives a fuck about his reputation, so he was fucked in this situation. What do you do if you're Tyron Woodley? $10,000 for an appearance, and USADA calls you. Do you take the whereabouts failure, or do you get the $10,000? If you take the whereabouts failure, you fucking know every MMA website is going to say Tyron Woodley, USADA whereabouts failure. They're going to start tying him to John Jones. They're going to do the fucking worst to Tyron Woodley. Fuck out of here, dog. No. That is some bullshit. Testing this man's Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta. Like y'all don't know what the fuck what's up. And he missed the $10,000. And that's why it's good once he's out of this fucking organization that doesn't seem to really, have his back at all times, even though he's one of their best champions. Once he's out of this organization, it's good he's going to be able to go make these fucking $10,000 for appearances or be in movies, whether the B-list. If he's getting a fucking check, get the fuck out of here. I don't give a fuck if it's A-list, B-list, or C-list. If you're getting the bag, go do it. Because you're 36 years old anyway. How long are you going to fight until you're 60? I don't think they got no pensions or retirement. So you got to set yourself up outside of the game. And shit like this makes me shit. Tyron Woodley, this is the type of shit that, you know what I'm saying? What the? Y'all just cost me $10,000. There's no reimbursement. Like, y'all just costed me money. Like, I wouldn't. That's the type of shit to make you look forward to having a new employer. Especially if you're Woodley, like, you can be on doing whatever you're doing. I'm glad Tyron Woodley is setting himself up to get away from the bullshit he seems to get into a lot of times with the UFC. I mean, it's no secret Dana White and his relationship isn't always the best. Sometimes they mend it, but at the same time they have a lot of differences, and that's the president or the organization. I don't know. I don't think the UFC can recommend, you know, hey, go test this guy. But is it too far-fetched to think, hey, Dana White or anybody, bro, if Tyron Woodley was on Instagram, which you would imagine, hey, I got an appearance, come see me and Devontae Freeman at 1 a.m. on Instagram. You don't think Dana White or some UFC USADA motherfucker could just be like, oh, hey, let's go fuck up Tyron Woodley's day? Man, that's some, what a coincidence. Fuck out of here. Tyron said, and I was in the hotel waiting on him to come for 45 minutes of traffic to test me. So she tested me around 1 a.m. and I missed those events. I asked her, I said, why can't you test me in the morning? I'm going to be here. Oh, let me call them and ask if I can test you in the morning. She said, nope, I got to test you now. They had to test him right then, right there. He couldn't wait till the morning. What do you guys think he's going to do? Go flush some fucking shit out of his system before the morning? I'm sure that's plausible, possible, but man, no. The timing of this Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta, I think that's some straight bullshit. So I'm glad that Tyron Woodley is setting himself up to not be a fighter. If he loses the belt, I wouldn't, fuck that. I'm not going back through the grind. Not if I already have a TMZ gig and I'm still going to be doing commentary work and I'm still going to be, and I know the UFC has been looking to get me. They might not even give me an immediate rematch. You think I'm going to fucking go through the grind of fighting a contender and then, oh, I might not get another rematch? Like, what? You think I'm going to deal with that bullshit when I can go sit on this TMZ gig or go do an appearance with Ludacris or any of these fucking athletes, entertainers, Devontae Freeman from the motherfucking, you know, Falcons? Like, come on, man. So, with that being said, under the UFC anti-doping policy, athletes are subject to out-of-competition, no advance notice testing, 365 days a year. The handbook reads, this is done to ensure that there are no blackout periods during which those looking to gain an unfair advantage could take performance-enhancing drugs without detection. USADA's testing is designed to maximize detection and deterrence in order to ensure athletes are given the opportunity to compete in an octagon that is fair and level. Sounds good. Just don't have no pulsing picos, you know what I'm saying? Do your time and then come back and okay. All right, let's move on. But yeah, that's something I really wanted to talk about. Super Bowl weekend, you test a man, loses $10,000 just because you guys have to test him. Then he can't wait 3 hours. Y'all already want to show up at these bullshit hours. And this is one fucked up situation. Imagine if you're a fighter that's got kids that are asleep for school. And these motherfuckers decide to test you at 5 a.m. and your kids don't wake up normally until 7 a.m. or you know, something like that. Everyone's waking up early, or what if they show up at 3 a.m. and your kids are, what the fuck? And we're not employees? Okay, let's move on. Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren accept GSP's retirement. They still want to fight him. Both of these guys are considered, well, Ben Askren's considered one of the best welterweight wrestlers of all time. Tyron Woodley is considered one of the best welterweight fighters of all time. In my opinion, one of the greatest. I mean, for sure. It's out of him and GSP. I don't think there's any, like, second that's... Tyron Woodley's making his claim, trying to take the #1 spot, which is going to be difficult. Don't got the... I mean, I keep it real with you guys on this. It's more like a podcast version of the show. Tyron Woodley, man, and just in MMA in general, like, I know GSP is the GOAT at welterweight right now, like, widely considered. But I think Tyron Woodley should be considered just a little more than he is. Like, I don't really ever hear the Woodley argument. Like, I always hear about GSP being the GOAT, but you really don't ever hear about Woodley and what he's doing in the welterweight division. Like, he's doing some really good things. You don't hear many people saying, look at Tyron Woodley beating everybody, fighting the #1 contender. All of these guys are different styles. I mean, the reason he's not fighting guys that are former champions is because no one can become a champion while he's there. You know, and it's a different era. You know, people aren't talking about that like in the NBA. Wilt Chamberlain and these guys, you know, used to score 100 points and average 30-point triple-doubles throughout the season. And, oh, they were so good. But it's when the league was like, you know, 98% white. Like, they was just getting integrated. Like, there was no 3-second rule in the paint. Only 7'1" guy in the league. Of course, he's just, and he can camp the paint. He can just do this all day. There's different rules now. There's different rules. There's better players, better athletes all throughout. And that's the same with MMA. There's way better athletes, way better science, way better weight cutting today, and Tyron Woodley's beating all of those guys. Still, the best fighters in the world. Every single one that's challenged, every style, he's beating them all today. Not the guys of yesterday. So I don't think that's talked about enough as far as Tyron Woodley's case for being one of the greatest welterweights of all time. And the reason being, I'm not going to go Tyron Woodley and say it's because he's black, but there is something to that. Like, it's not because he's black, but there's definitely something to, like, MMA's, the majority of the MMA fan base, right, it is probably, you would say, white. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so with that being said, and that's, of course, it's getting more fans every day, like more diverse every day. Like, yeah, they're getting more and more different, like Mexican fans and black fans and African, like they're doing everything. But coming up originally, it was predominantly white for MMA fans. It was the white man sport. Boxing was the, you know, black and Mexican thing. And so with that being said, there's always going to be, as long as there's a majority of a white fan base, then of course a majority of fans are going to root for their guy. It's like a lot of black dudes probably, or not even just black dudes, or like Mexican dudes. Let's say Mexican dudes probably think Cain Velasquez is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, or is the greatest heavyweight of all time. He gets their nod, right? It's not because they're racist. It's because people like to root for their own. If you're black, you might give Tyron Woodley more of a case. Not because you're racist, because people like to root for their own. So what I'm saying is a predominantly white fan base, of course, is going to want to root for their own in this argument. So, of course, there's going to be more people always saying GSP is the GOAT. But I don't know how long that's going to continue to be the case. I think you can make arguments. Have we ever seen Tyron? We have seen him knocked out. But, I mean, I was going to say, like, Tyron Woodley, he never really took a break. You know, GSP, after he suffered, well, he didn't even suffer the loss because he got his hand raised. But when he fought Johnny Hendricks, he took a break after that. I don't know. We could have a real discussion on that another day. But I'm not going to go all the way there. But I just think there's a compelling debate. Tyron Woodley is up there with one of the greatest welterweights of all time, and definitely not. I don't think there's a close third. It's GSP and Tyron Woodley, and yeah, after that, fucking, you can list a bunch of guys from the past, but Tyron Woodley's not, you know, allowing anybody to make a name for themselves. Usman's on the way. If he can beat Woodley, he can start to make his own legacy. But that's gonna, if Woodley beats Usman, man, we're gonna have a real debate about this. A real debate. If Woodley beats Usman at UFC 235 this weekend, we're gonna have a real debate about Tyron Woodley being the greatest welterweight of all time. But we'll wait for that. If he loses to Usman, we'll just, you know, pump the brakes. With that being said, another fight we got coming up is Jessica Andrade. She's revealing her strategy to fight Rose Namajunas at UFC 237 to beat Rose Namajunas. Jessica Andrade, full disclosure, I'm a fan. I'm usually a fan of people that I feel like, not counted out, but, or not just unpopular, underdogs. Like, I feel like Jessica Andrade is an underdog, and it's not because of her fighting. You know, she's not the prettiest face or whatever the fuck, like, so she doesn't have that support. She's not American, I guess, so maybe a lot of people don't support her over Rose for those reasons. I don't give a fuck where you're from, if you're American or anything like that. Like, I root for the person. And so with that being said, I like Jessica Andrade. You know, she just doesn't seem like a shitty person, a human being. She's a great fighter, and she's an counted out, an underdog. She's shown tremendous discipline to be able to fight at 115 after fighting early in her career at 135 when there was no 125 division. I like the potential of Jessica Andrade. She's only 26 years old. If she beats Rose Namajunas, she's only lost one time at this division to Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and all fighters have off nights. How do we know Jessica Andrade wasn't having an off night that night? She wasn't 100%. What if she's just a fighter that doesn't make excuses, even if there's legitimate ones? You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, and she's done nothing but get better, if she beats Rose, who beat Joanna, we have to have a real conversation about an Andrade versus Joanna rematch, and you can't just count her out. But not only that, if she beats Rose, we've got a legitimate contender for Valentina Shevchenko in a champ versus champ super fight. This girl used to fight at 135. You think she won't go up and fight the 125-pound champion? You're fucking crazy. And it'd be a legitimate fight for Valentina. So, man, I think Jessica Andrade is the shit. And even if she, I think if she wins, she's got potential for some really fun fights that I would love to see. And yeah, Rose is a great fighter too. But I believe Jessica Andrade is dangerous. For me, and we'll talk about it coming up next, Joanna thinks this fight's 50-50. She's fought them both. I'm going 60-40 Andrade. And I did UFC Yankovic, you know what I'm saying, just drop the Jessica Andrade Tatiana remix for UFC 237. Make sure you check that out. It's pretty fun. So this is what Jessica Andrade had to say. I'm watching her videos, and the way she's walking, she's trying to impose the same style that Joanna does. But I've evolved a lot and won't let that happen. I will get well prepared for the fight, that's for sure. Rose has great striking. We can see her improvement, especially in her fights against Joanna. She's fast, has a bigger reach, and she's taller than me. The strategy is to back her up against the cage. Every time she's put against the cage, she comes back more tired the next round. I believe that the strategy is to get her tired and then impose our game, and everything will be all right. It's easy for her to fight Joanna, who connects and then runs, but it's a bit more complicated to fight a tractor that will put pressure on you the entire time. I have to close the distance and make sure she doesn't land her punches. Her punch will be weaker in short range. Don't give her space to connect hard punches. Get her arms tired so her punches are weaker too. She's getting me ready for this fight. And I'm a fan of Rose and all of that, but I mean, I was a bigger fan, I think, like, until the whole, like, victim thing. But even then, I'm still a fan of Rose as a person. I don't think that was largely her doing. But either way, Andrade, like, I think gets the short end of the stick, and it's for no reason. You know, it's not like she's out here just being a bitch and, you know, doing no Colby Covington. Like, if you don't support Jessica Andrade, it's probably because you're a simp and there's nothing for you to look at. You can't look at her Instagram all fucking day and, you know, think what if. But yeah, I think Jessica Andrade is a fucking monster of a fighter, one of the best 115-pound fighters in the world, and it's not close, and she doesn't get mentioned that way. She doesn't get spoken about that way. When you're talking about fucking killers and the best fighters in the world, I think her name should just be in that conversation, especially at 115. People are jumping to Tatiana Suarez, and for good reason. She's a beast, but literally, people are skipping Jessica Andrade, and I don't understand that. She's a fucking beast, and she's only 26 with like 30 fucking fights, and a lot of them in the UFC. This girl is a killer. We gotta hurry up to the show, guys. I don't got much time. Joanna Jacek believes that the fight between Namajunas and Andrade is about a 50-50, and like I said, she's fought them both, so that is interesting. Derek Lewis says Junior Dos Santos is probably one of the weakest guys that I'm gonna fight. He's eyeing a fight with Stipe Miocic. Derek Lewis looking like he's still trying to get back to that title shot. You know, the first fight title shot he got was on short notice, so maybe if he got a full camp for a title shot, it'd be a different story. That'd be fun to see. But with that being said, I think he's fucking crazy, respectfully, if he thinks Junior Dos Santos is probably the weakest guy he's going to fight. Definitely not in his past. He's one of the best guys you've ever fought as far as that's concerned. Of course, not counting Daniel Cormier. But with that being said, going to fight? No. I mean, unless you're only, like, going to retire soon and you only plan on fighting, like, Stipe and retiring. I don't see it. Junior Dos Santos is just a fucking great fighter, man, and he came back and he's looked great since coming off of his bullshit suspension where he got cleared of, came back, beat Blagoy Ivanov, came back, he beat Tai Tuivasa in his hometown. Like, Junior Dos Santos, I think, is ready to go on a fucking run, low-key. He's looking great since coming back. And Derek Lewis is Derek Lewis, everybody's favorite, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think, skill-wise, I think Junior Dos Santos, skill-wise, if you're just talking pure boxing and MMA, I think Junior Dos Santos is better. But hey, that Derek Lewis is, of course, somebody you can never count out of a fight. He said he's probably the weakest guy I'm going to fight out of the guys that I've fought before. Oh, no. Oh, no. He said he's probably like the 5th or 6th guy. I don't think he's the tougher guy I fought. We'll see on March 9th. He fought some guys, man. Derek Lewis has fought a lot of dudes and a lot of guys. And Junior Dos Santos is not even close. He's one of the best guys you've ever fought. I think he's joking. You know he's a fucking joker. I think Derek Lewis is joking. I think it's opposite day or some shit. He just said he's probably one of the weakest guys I'm gonna fight out of the guys I've fought before. No, he's definitely one of the best fighters you fought that you've ever fought before. What? Former UFC champion, fucking whooping dude's ass currently? What? What? Love this guy. He said you got to stay ready 24/7. You really can't get ready because there's no telling. They can call you on short notice to fight anyone, so you really got to stay ready. They offered me Stipe, but I told them it was too short of a notice. It was right after the DC fight, and they wanted me to fight in January, right after I lost to DC. So I told them no, I needed some time off. I had to fight into November. They wanted me to fight in January. I'm like, damn, these are all top guys. I need some time off. I wanted a full training camp. My body, my mind wasn't quite right. Derek Lewis is also a very active heavyweight. He's been very active throughout his career for sure, and he's beat a lot of guys. But he's also, taken some beatings throughout the first couple of rounds in some of his fights, and then came back and got the win. So yeah, man, looking forward to that fight, Derek Lewis versus Junior Dos Santos at UFC Wichita. Hopefully, I'll be attending that event live. If God forbid anything happens, you know what I'm saying, to the tickets or money wise. But hopefully, we'll be there live. Devontae Smith hates travel, but he's down to fight Francisco Trinaldo in Brazil. I am a big fan of this guy upcoming, but Francisco Trinaldo's a beast. I mean, he's definitely a little on the decline. Devontae Smith is on the incline. He's on the rise, and he's got a great personality. He reminds me of Felony Charles Bennett, but a little more sane. No disrespect, but you know what I'm saying? Not as crazy, just the horse. Devontae Smith, a really fun dude, a really good fighter, just beating the fuck out of guys. The fights really aren't close. He'll finish you. Only one fight that he lost was to John Gunther, and it was after he beat the fuck out of him for a long time. And John Gunther, the fight could have been stopped, but it wasn't. And so John Gunther ended up pulling off some crazy Darren Elkins-esque fucking comeback. But Devontae Smith is a beast. He's a beast. So I'm looking forward to his future. I don't want to see him get fucking fed through the ranks too quick. Oh, here's Francisco Trinaldo, and then here's fucking Dustin Poirier. What? This guy's got potential. But this is a good fight, I think. And yeah, this is a good fight to get him where he wants to be. You don't just want to be fighting low-level guys your whole career, especially if you're a beast. So I think this is a really good fight in Francisco Trinaldo, and it'll probably get him right around the, edge in the rankings. I think, he's 1-2 fights away from the rankings. But this guy is really good, but still young in his career. I would really like to see him develop a little more with a really good fight team. But if he does, he's got a great personality. I think he could really sell fights. And when I say great personality, I don't mean like he fucking pets rabbits and walks dogs, for the elderly on the weekends. I mean as far as a great personality for the fight game. I think he could sell a lot of fights and sell a lot of tickets because you're either going to hate him or you're going to love him. But either way, he's going to be really entertaining, and he's a really good fighter. So I think he's really good in that sense. Moving on. We already talked about Burger King. Conor McGregor responded for. Oh, this is a hot topic. UFC Hall of Famer Matt Hughes served restraining orders from his wife and his brother. I seen some of this shit unfolding on Twitter. While I was at work on my break, just hey, what's going on Twitter? And I seen some people oh, Matt Hughes is a fucking the scum of the earth and all of this, and what happened? And I seen it was something about domestic abuse, and I really didn't look too much into it. I mean, I'm not a type of guy when I hear about domestic abuse, I feel like I need to know all the details. It's not a lot of the times you're not going to get all the details, and I mean, if you got the gist of it, that's really, okay, so if he's got charges pressed on him and, you can come to the conclusion that he's guilty, okay, pass your judgment. But with that being said, I don't normally just look for all the details, but I'm also not convicting him of anything. If I was a guy oh, Matt Hughes is if I came out here and made a stance, oh, I fucking Matt Hughes, I can't believe you did this. Clearly, I would have the details. But I'm not making a stance because I don't have the details. But from what it sounds like and from the tone of everything I've been seeing, this doesn't seem like, a first-time offense. There's been a book wrote about Matt Hughes, and I believe someone said, if you just read, the first 3 chapters, you'll pretty much get a new outlook on Matt Hughes. So TMZ.com is citing court documents it had obtained today, reported by Matt Hughes' wife, Audra, this past December filed for a restraining order against the retired fighter after he allegedly hit her in front of the two of their children and her stepfather. According to the report, documents show Hughes allegedly hit her after she accused him of texting other women. In addition, Audra Hughes filed for divorce from Matt Hughes this past week. According to the documents listed in Montgomery County Records database, the database also lists the orders of protection against Hughes filed by Audra and Matt's twin brother, Mark Hughes. The restraining order says Hughes has to stay away 500 feet from his wife and their children, 500 away from Mark and his family. Could you imagine having like a fucking MMA fighter in your family, like, pissed off at everybody? It's like, get him, it's your brother. I can't get him. It's not funny. I'm just, thinking like of a comedy sketch. Like I'm putting myself in that situation. Like if my brother was an MMA fighter and like he was pissed off at, like not even just pissed off. Like what if he was like drunk or belligerent or he had CTE or it wasn't like just an evil piece of shit. Like it was just something that was happening. What do you do in that moment? This motherfucker's an MMA fighter. Your brother. You ain't. I'm not. He is. He's pissed. What do you do? Like seriously, like if you see him like hit his, baby's mother or wife in front of the children, what do? Do you run in and try to stop it? Knowing goddamn well that's your brother and he's an MMA fighter and he will fuck you up. Do you just go take that L? Like Captain Save-A-Ho, and goddamn well there's no chance. It's like, and it's not even, it's, not even like you got a chance with the chick. Like, I don't know. I'm just a thought. So, or do you get a restraining order on your brother? I think I'd probably get a restraining order on my brother too. Like, hey, I would probably got it first. Like, if she calls, like, what should I do about your brother? Well, I went and got a restraining order on him, and I suggest you do too. I'm staying away from that motherfucker. All right. And not to make light of this situation at all. That's just, sorry, the comedian in me. But we do have some way brighter news. That was a little bit of the darker side. Way brighter news. I tried to keep it light with a little bit of jokes. And like I said, if you just want to hear about details of somebody fucking hitting their wife or something, like if you like those stories and shit, go ahead and check that out and look for all the details and read the book. But I mean, I've seen it before. I grew up around it. It's not something I'm interested in, learning about. I know a lot about that shit. PFL signs a broadcast deal with ESPN for a second season. What? Second season? I thought this would be the first season. I think it's a 2-year deal though. ESPN though? What in you guys? What? PFL, the Professional Fighters League, formerly the World Series of Fighting. I was already talking. I've been raving about these guys. And girls, Kayla Harrison, salute, biggest fan. And now she's gonna be on ESPN. We can say we've been here from the first fight before they were on ESPN. But they're doing tournaments. $1 million tournaments in each division. Now you don't have to fucking question, can they pay those $1 million? Yeah. They just got to deal with ESPN. And they've got like a regular season and the playoffs, and sometimes you fight twice on the same night in the playoffs. And now they're on ESPN. Yo, this is super, super dope. The female lightweight Grand Prix tournament's going to be on ESPN now, Kayla Harrison included. Cyborg might want to look at fighting for that $1 million tournament. I already suggested that she could fight at lightweight, right? As long as she don't, she ain't going to run into no girls like Amanda Nunes in the PFL. I think she's good. And she better hope that Amanda Nunes ain't, rubbing off on Kayla Harrison, no head of roll. Because if she's training with her, and shoot, man, don't let Kayla Harrison train with Amanda Nunes for 2 more years and then fight her, because if so, it's not going to be a fun time. With that being said, PFL signs a broadcast deal with ESPN. That is huge news for the PFL. I think that's crazy. They could, and another thing, like, because they just got UFC just got on ESPN. ESPN must love what they're seeing. Oh, wait, people love this shit? Let's get some PFL over here. PFL was on NBC, I believe, which was dope because they were able to use Kayla Harrison's Olympic footage. But yeah, clearly ESPN is making some good money with the UFC because they're loving the MMA business, I think, to be signing one of their competitors. It's like, we just signed the UFC. Now we're going to sign one of their competitors. Like, for the same channel. I wonder what the UFC thinks about this. We got a couple more things to talk about before I got to get out of here. Dillon Danis suspended and fined for his role in the UFC 229 brawl. And I believe his role was allegedly saying some, what did he say? Some anti-Muslim shit from the crowd and insinuating the brawl, allegedly. We didn't really hear Dillon Danis's what he said, but that's who Khabib went after, so reason to believe. 7,500 seems sort of cheap, but maybe, you know, he's not McGregor or Khabib, so it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for any fighter that's not Conor McGregor or Khabib. If you don't got $1 million fight person, this is probably a lot of money. So yeah, it's actually reasonable. But we just seen McGregor and Khabib fined for like $500,000 or Khabib was. So McGregor was only $50,000, but even that's a lot. So yeah, compared to those guys, this isn't much, but it's actually a pretty big fine for Dillon Danis. So with that being said, one interesting thing I did find about this is it kind of puts a little bit of fault on Dillon Danis. After the investigation was concluded, he was fined and suspended. So maybe there was something to what Khabib said. And does that give you the right to jump out the cage? No, but it does kind of say that, I mean, you could say, he didn't initiate the brawl by saying that. You can say whatever you want outside of you can say something. You didn't jump the cage and fucking start a brawl. You know, if you're at a fucking NBA game, LeBron sucks! He can't run up to you and punch you in the fucking mouth. You know, and LeBron, you fucking suck at free throw, suck dick! He can't fucking just bust your jaw open, you know? Hey, LeBron! Hold on. You know what I'm saying? So, that doesn't give Khabib the right to start a brawl, but still, I guess since it started the brawl, Dillon Danis is getting fined. I think that's a little crazy. Unless, like, I guess, like, what? Like, and now let's take it to extreme circumstances, because that's what this was. Was it, so let's say it was racial or religious, because it was supposed to be anti-Muslim. He called him something rat, a Muslim rat. That wasn't even, like, the N-word, you know, like, Muslim isn't a bad word. Rat is an animal. So, why are you fined for saying, like, Muslim? Like, I get it. I guess it's religious. So, if you call someone a Christian rat, would it be the same thing? Or I'm just saying, like, a Buddhist rat? A fucking, you know? What's that shit in Hollywood Joe Rogan always talks about? Scientologist rat? Is that, like, can you get fined for that? I don't know. Like, that's weird. Like, think about it at an NBA game. Or anywhere. Hey, you Christian rat! And LeBron punches you in the face. Do you get fined for that? Maybe you do because you said Christian. I don't know. That's weird territories, you know, when you fine and suspend the guy. I guess because he's a fighter. Maybe that plays into it. You know, it's because he's a fighter, but still, you can't be if you're a fighter, can you not root from the cage? Or I guess I don't know. I don't got enough time to really continue on that, but you get the point, I think. Dillon Danis has been suspended. With that being said, John Jones, I guess this is a pretty big deal. Good way to end the show. Save one of the best for last. John Jones pre-UFC 235 drug test will be released before fight night. Oh shit, guys. What's in the drug test? What's in the drug test? Oh shit, we gotta get to find out till fight night. What do you guys think's in there? I'll tell you exactly what's in there. Pulsing Picos. No shit. It's either clean or it's posting picos. If it was fucking a whole new steroid, a whole new concoction of steroids, he wouldn't be fighting. So it's either clean or posting picos that he gets a pass for. So that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching this. I'm going to try and get it uploaded today. I don't got much time before work, but thank you guys for listening to this. Make sure you guys tune into the Fight Companion this weekend over at my second channel, UFC Yankovic, while this channel deals with the bullshit copyright strike, and we can't live stream on it. We can live stream on our second channel. So, yeah, with that being said, I'll be there this weekend, and we'll probably have another show out before then. Make sure you guys tune in. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.